Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we are going to talk vinyl maintenance, how we take care of our vinyl collection. Panels here, we are ready, let's get started. Welcome to the Contrarians, and this is a little bit different episode than we normally do. We are going to talk about vinyl care, vinyl storage, how we take care of our records. This is like, I don't know, it's kind of like an instructional video. But anyway, we've got Todd Evans, Martin Popoff here tonight, and Nick Esquire is here. So we're just going to have a loose discussion, talk about how we maintain and keep our record collections. I'm sure there's a lot of interest in this, but this is what we do. And I'm just going to go as I see it. Let's just do Todd Evans, Nick, and then Martin. I guess we'll go up with me, but I don't know. Todd, what do you do? You go out, you buy records. What is your whole process?
Okay. So if I buy a record from a record store, especially if it's local and I know that they clean the records before they sell them, I still clean them anyway. If I get them from a thrift store or an antique store or something like that, there's kind of a little bit more of a process. But the microfiber cloth is your friend. And so what I do is I put the microfiber cloth down, put the record on top, get the other microfiber cloth. If this is a record that I know is pretty clean, I'll spray my solution, and I'll tell you what this is in a minute, on the cloth, and then wipe in a circle, but counterclockwise, because you want to mimic the direction that the record turns and how the needle spins around. You want to go in that same direction. And if it's a dirty record, I spray this directly on the record.
And what are you using? What are you using to clean it?
I got this recipe from a friend who I know from social media. It wasn't even somebody I know, but he did this instructional video on how to take care of records. And I really liked the sound of it. This right here in this little spray bottle from the supermarket is 1 part isopropyl alcohol, 3 parts distilled water, and 2 drops of Dawn. Now you could probably use something else, but supposedly Dawn's a little bit purer, has a little bit less of a, they clean the birds with it when they come out of the oil spills and all that stuff.
If it cleans birds, it should be able to clean vinyl. Yeah.
But basically what you have is, and if anybody's a photographer, this is really close to what they used to call photo flow, which is
I've used photo
they
flow.
used to clean, negatives with before they dry them. And then that's one thing. If it's a record, that is and then I just let them air dry. Sometimes I'll, move them around like this and then either listen to them or put them away. If it's a record that gives me a reason to do more, like, for example, a lot of times you get a record and you can clean it and it'll look clean. And then you'll play it and a bunch of gunk will get stuck to the stylus. If you've ever played a record, you notice by the time it gets to the end of one side, it's, you've gathered all of this dust, and sometimes there's like some kind of gunk. Sometimes it's white and sometimes it's like gray. That just means that there's gunk stuck down in there. And then what I use, and you'll hear people recommend the Spin Clean. This one right here is, of course, Crossley branded, but the dirty word in I
know that's a sin in the audiophile. In the audiophile
community,
community, that's a sin, Todd.
They make these in the same factories. They're all the same. Spin Clean, Crossley. There's one that's got a weird name like Mr. something. They're all the same. What they basically are is two. And I was skeptical about these until I tried one. There's these 2 little things, and they've got felt like really, really almost like velvet on them. And I'll put these back in here and I'll kind of show you what it does. There's a lot of information about how to use these on YouTube, but there's not a lot of people that take it apart and show you what's actually in it. But those 2 little things are right there. And so when you put the record in, it's tight. It fits tight. And it kind of rolls on these little roller things. And you put it in there and you turn it like 5 times one direction, 5 times the other direction, take it out, and then wipe it with a microfiber cloth. That will actually do it when you've got a record that's gunky. And a lot of times what you'll notice too is when you have a record like that is it'll crackle consistently through the whole record. Sometimes that surface scratches, Like if you've got like a thrift store record that's like out of the jacket, sometimes that's just because the scratches are there, but sometimes it's because it needs a deep clean. And so that will take care of that. Like if you get a record that, well, this looks clean, but it crackles all the way through. Why is it doing that? The spin clean or knockoff version of the spin clean will take care of that. There's an even more intense thing that I do sometimes, and I got this is an internet thing. There's this thing that I made, and there's a how-to video somewhere, and it's these things right here are 2 caps from PVC pipe. And then it's got this little thing right here. It's this little plastic like
butterfly
screw. Yeah. And then it's made out of, and then on the inside, there is 2 little pieces of rubber. And so what you do is you put this over the record, and you end up with this little thing that covers up the label.
Right.
So you can just douse it in something. So sometimes I will do that, and I will take one of those little pads. You've seen those pads that when you paint, like around the edges, like by the ceiling. I'll take one of those pads and I'll clean it in, like in the bathtub with like warm water and something like this. And then I'll blast it with the water that comes out of the tub. Now, this is controversial because you're supposed to use distilled water. But depending on where you need to. And depending on how hard or soft the water is, you might get away with that. So I don't do that. I
always use distilled.
But I don't do that unless it's trashed. Okay. I don't do that unless it's so bad that I think, okay, this is the last ditch thing that I do before I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah.
So, and then after I do that, I'll clean it with the distilled water, mix, just so that it doesn't dry weird or anything.
I don't know, but Nick must have got all of excited because he left to get something.
I'm here.
Oh, he's still here. You can't see him.
Now, there's other ways that you could do that. You could also be real careful about not getting the label, wet, so that it doesn't, get all wrinkly and stuff like that. But this is emergency rescue. I use the other things for when I have a decent.
Look, Nick's got a whole bin of stuff.
That's what Tom was talking about. The edger.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
I haven't used it yet. I have every method available to me, but I haven't used the edger. But
you've heard of that, Nick?
All I'm going to say, if this gets any geekier, I don't know what I'm going to do.
You've heard of using one of those? Is that right?
I guarantee you.
Okay.
I'll tell you where I got it to, and you guys can watch a video, because there's no consensus on this record clean. But I like what you've been saying, because some of the tips you have I've heard now before. So yeah, edger works. That's what they say. Edger works.
Hold on.
Yep, it's made out of very similar stuff as the 2 pads that are in that spin clean thing.
Yeah. It's a little, it almost reminds me of something from like Velcro. It's just not that hard. So
yeah, like
you can see why that would work.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. So I wanted to bring something up, if you guys don't mind. I hear this a lot. This is the controversial part of the show. I see a lot of people caring for the records like this. Okay, inner sleeve, poly sleeve with like the rice paper in it, like there, and then they put it on the outside of the record. And the reason they do this is so that it won't break through on the edges. Okay, but what happens? What do you hear? What is that? That's the surface of the record. If you set this record down, like on a coaster or your phone or a pen or something like that, the surface is vulnerable. So my point is this: put the record in the jacket. When they designed these things in the 40s or the 30s or whenever it was, they had a reason for it. I think now it's totally fine if you want to keep your sleeve separate and you want to use something nice like this. This is kind of a copy of the ones that Mobile Fidelity sells. It's kind of the same deal. It's plastic, and then it's got like rice paper on the inside. This is a knockoff that's sold by
it's Disckeeper.
Sleeve
they're
City.
fine. Yeah,
and they're a little bit cheaper. And what are the ones that I said? Oh, the place that makes the stuff with the weird name. It's called Big Fudge. You'll see some on Amazon that are called Big Fudge. And they same deal. But if you want to use these, it's great because they're smoother on the inside than paper would be. So yeah, but I still put it inside the jacket.
But that's definitely an accepted method for mailing things, right? Because in mailing,
it is,
people
because
really think about edges.
Yes, because that is when you're most likely to get these tears on the top. Yeah, and in fact, some record labels, I think Inside Out ships records like that. If it's a gatefold, they put the sleeves inside the gatefold, but not in the, where they go. Like they'll just open the gatefold and put the 2 sleeves in the middle so that they don't do that. Yeah, for shipping, it's great. But with shipping, you're going to have an extra layer of protection over this. I just don't like the idea of just sliding this in the collection with that being like that. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Because a lot of record collecting influencers do that. People who have YouTube channels about collecting records, they do that. And every time they do it, I cringe a little. Because I'm like, don't drop that, because
So your point is it's closer to the surface, so
yes.
It's more prone to being poked.
But yeah, like a surface stress. Yeah, like
right.
I don't think I look at it that
the extra level of cardboard, I guess.
Right.
I don't think it's all BS.
It's pretty nitpicky, but that's just my thing.
I've never had any issue at this point in my life, so I'm just going to go with that.
Everything's you put them on the outside like that?
Well, I have, but normally, Todd, I keep them on the inside, and I just live my life, and there's not been any issue.
Yeah.
Now, if you're shipping it, you might have a problem, but it all depends upon what you're shipping it in. And if you have a proper record box, you won't have any problem. But, not everybody uses a proper record box to ship stuff if you're buying stuff. But more than likely, if I'm shipping something, let's say I sold something on Discogs, people expect for it to be on the outside, because most people buying records on Discogs are hardcore vinyl people. And
I would do that. If I sold something on Discogs. Yeah.
I don't think it matters. If it's packaged correctly, you won't have a problem. But I don't want to I don't want someone to give me a bad review or anything, so I'll put it on the outside.
Oh, can I ask you guys a little off topic? What is your opinion on the current state of that old controversy about CDs were eventually going to wear out, and you would be holding them up and see pinpricks through them, and your CD collection would completely deteriorate?
Go ahead, Todd. Todd looks like he's ready.
That is a thing. But holding up a CD that's like 30, 40 years old and seeing pinpricks in it, but they still play.
But
people are all doom and gloom about
certain pressing plants that had problems.
Right.
Not all the pressing plants had problems. Some of them you'll see, they'll come back and they'll look kind of bronzed after 30 years. But still they'll play.
The way that technology was designed. I'm sorry, Grant, go ahead.
No. You're getting me all worked up.
The way that technology was designed
I have not ever had a CD that would not play.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is bull crap.
I think I've had 2.
But it was like from the pressing plants, like I'm trying to think, I can see it. Oh, I can't think of the name of it. But I have rarely had all these CDs that I have, and I have a shitload, all play. I've not seen any bronzing, maybe 2 CDs, but they still play.
I have CDs I bought in 1982 that still play.
Okay. I think a lot of it is crap. All right. Discovery Systems, who did the initial run of Todd Rundgren CDs on Rhino. There's some, I do have a copy of Swing to the Right that has a problem playing. Okay. But Discovery Systems, that pressing plant had a lot of issues. It was in Dublin, Ohio. They're gone now. But for the most part, a lot of those Discovery System CDs play. But I have seen a couple that kind of fail.
You guys, you remember the one of the middle remasters of Dark Side of the Moon? I think it was 1992 or 1993. Okay. That came in a little box.
Yeah.
And my wife has that CD. And I think that she kept it in the car without the box for a very long time. And it's got actual pieces, like little chunks that are maybe 3 millimeters, around, like in a circle or in a square, where you can see right through it. On the part of the disc where the music is, that disc plays without
wow. Good.
So it's all about oversampling and, error correction and all that kind of stuff.
It's all about the pressing plant.
Yeah.
It has nothing to... If anybody's looking into this, that was the least thing I would worry about. I would worry more about vinyl and scratching and things that you can't detect that you hear. CDs, for the most part, are good to go. And, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree. Buy as many used CDs as you want, and if one doesn't work, it's
And exactly.
$3 you're not going to see again.
Like I've always been preaching, vinyl's expensive. It's all about the music, and who cares about the medium, for Christ's sakes? It's all about the music. And if you can get the CD for $3 as opposed to the record that's $28, use your head. I'm just saying, everybody's on this vinyl kick. I get it. I love vinyl. Don't get me wrong. I love the music first and foremost. So
let me tell you my thing is that I like to buy records because they're fun. No other reason. I don't think they're better or worse or anything.
Well, it's nostalgic. It takes you back to when you were a kid.
It's fun to look at them.
Right.
It's fun to tinker with turntables and change your stylus and your cartridge and all that stuff. All that stuff is fun.
Right.
I'll buy whatever format I feel like buying. I don't.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying. But
opinion.
well, all I'm saying is that CDs, at the most part, this is my whole philosophy. Buy low, kids. CDs are going to come around. Once this next generation find out how cool they are, that's going to turn around. It's just going to be, they're going to look at this and go, oh my God, look at this silver thing that can play music. Wow, how cool is that? It'll all come around. Don't get rid of your CD collections right yet, because I know it's going to come around just like vinyl did. I bought all my vinyl back in the 90s when it was cheap. All those dollar records I bought now are $10 records, $15 records. Now I should sell. But, it is what it is. But I'm on a rant. And
important thing I left out, when you wash these, don't use fabric softener. So you can't throw them in with a laundry. You have to wash them. They can go in the machine, but without fabric softener.
All right. 719. That's cool. All right.
I have one thing I want to ask you guys because I'm curious about it. I don't file my records with sleeves around them because I'm a spine freak. I like to see what they are.
Right.
On my shelves. And so I was just wondering how you guys did it, because there are so many ways that are not wrong.
But God, I mean, when it gets to me, I mean, my main thing that I have practically nothing to say about the care of the actual records, but to me, I started putting plastic sleeves on them originally, like right away as a kid, and I am amazed. My jaw is on the floor when I think when I pull a plastic sleeve off one of my records, and it's still like it's still as good as when I bought it in 1978 or whatever, right? So yeah,
hey, it's the gods, and they're a rock and roll machine.
Is they will stay on. I mean, when I file them, they're all in the plastic sleeves. But
it will protect them, no doubt. But I wash my hands before I touch my records, so I'm kind of a weirdo when it comes to that.
No, but Todd, it's all that vibration in the racks.
Yeah,
cardboard on cardboard that's going to give you the ring wear and wear out the cover. Right?
They'll definitely stay nicer if you sleeve them. Absolutely.
Oh, sure. They'll stay perfect. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, I've bought so many different outside sleeves over the years, and they're all in outside sleeves except when I run low and I've got a lot of crappy $1 records that aren't in sleeves. But you leave them in sleeves their whole lives, and they will get through a dozen moves. And I mean, they're absolutely perfect. There's zero ring wear when you leave that sleeve on the whole time.
Look at Nick throwing up there. I know, but let's say this, like if you buy a lot of used records, look at that Gods. It's a rock and roll machine, for Christ's sakes.
Absolutely. Signed by Eric.
Yeah. Original Casablanca pressing. Yep. It's a Columbus, Ohio band.
Yep.
So Martin, I hate to go on a tangent. You know the band Rosie?
Yep. Pre-Gods.
No, that's post-Gods. That's Mark Chatfield's band after Rosie. Great stuff. I'm just
but Rosie is before Gods, right?
No. That's after Gods.
Rosie album?
Yeah, that's after the Gods. Early 80s. Great stuff. It was
73.
No. The Gods. We opened up for the Gods in the band that I was in. Oh yeah, great. Rosie, I love Rosie. Anyway, on a tangent. So Nick, so you have those sleeves. What's your opinion on the whole sleeve thing?
I use them. Thank goodness I use them, because when I didn't use them for a while, and I started getting a lot of ring wear and damage. I started using sleeves. So I've minimized the ring wear and damage. Now, I'm like you. I also bought dollar records,
Right,
cheap
right.
records. So, you know, I bought albums that were once considered, you know, fair, very good condition. And if I like the vinyl over the years, because my philosophy has been volume over price, I buy a better copy or buy it on
Right.
CD. So it's
Right.
never been about like I had to be so precious with the quality of the vinyl, but I would improve upon something if it was really jacked up, as it were. But you know, so I did start putting even my worst albums, as long as I've heard the album and I liked it, it made the rack, I put it in a sleeve.
All right. Well, what I do, because I bought a lot of this in the 90s, if it had a sleeve, I leave it in the sleeve. If it doesn't have a sleeve, it's not like I'm pulling this stuff out a lot.
Right.
Well, I am now lately, but it's mostly, I don't know, kind of like an artifact, and it doesn't get any more wear than when I got it. Some of these records had a little bit of wear when I got them, and well, they still have the same wear. I haven't noticed any more wear than when I got them. That's where
Bill Aston did a video about the PVC sleeves, and when they stick to the cover, like they will ruin your covers. So he did this horrific video about how the PVC sleeves will wreck your records. Right?
I'll start there.
I haven't had any issue with that at all.
I'll start there. I've been collecting for about 45 years. I've violated or probably every rule you can violate. I've learned. I've had every experience. And Martin, I think this is PVC. This is that Kiss collectible from Creatures. It played Rock and Roll All Night or Creatures on one side, double grooved. On the other side is their autographs embedded in the wax. Nice. I had it stored directly in this sleeve, and one day I tried to take it out and it was literally stuck to the PVC and couldn't get it out. I worked it free, and when I got it out, it's now all cloudy. So I need to find a solution for that, maybe a literally solution, or this record is jacked. So I've had that problem, and what I did now, just temporarily, I just got an old paper sleeve and put it inside to put the record in. But that's one problem. I'm going to show you some other problems. That's what I thought I'd do. You have a record, you take it out, you're like, oh, what happened? Oh, what happened? Oh no! So you have to make sure you dig in the sleeve to make sure you find the rest of it, because you never.
Right.
Like, oh, there it is. There it is. So you can kind of get some Gorilla Glue and put it back together. See, so it is a match. So I'm always, you have to
I've never had that problem ever.
I had this about a month ago. It was probably a Contrarians thing. I'm running around in my racks finding something, and I had framed albums up, but lately I've been leaning them on my in my stacks, which is not a good thing. And then you take out your you find that your Strangers of the Night hit the floor and it's all smashed and broken on the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's still in there, but I got broken glass. So that's a thing that happened to me in the last month. And I thought maybe I had gremlins.
That's bad.
One thing they say, if you're like Grant and you say, oh, I want to take out one of my favorite albums, I'm having a dinner party, what am I going to do? And I take out
it's Grand Funk, Jesus.
and you're Grant, or maybe you're Martin, you're like, oh, I got to take out my Grand Funk, but I don't have a cutting board. I mean, you could use it as a cutting board. I mean, so it will work. So if
Martin has that Grand Funk album, I'm getting off of this episode. Good God.
If you have to in a pinch, you can use it to slice things like cheese, like I've been doing. So it's not bad. I mean, Grand Funk works really well because the vinyl is really thick. So I've used that as a cutting board. I know Grant Arthur, when he likes to, or Grant, when he's fooling around, I used to keep the 45s as a kid in these little things,
Yeah.
And pull out your Popeye album.
Yeah. I like that.
Nice.
Todd mentioned the whatchamacallit, the non-stick things. I had these from I found these, they're from like the 50s. The cleaning cloths, which are still in the seal, but I think it's still the same technology, and I do use that.
You know what, Nick? If you spray that with water and make it damp, whatever's in it will actually still work, the anti-static stuff.
It says it right on the package too, which I thought maybe it was marketing hype, but they say that. So
seriously, if you squirt
it'll still work. Yeah, you get it a little bit damp, and it'll be just as good as it was.
I used to have a Zero Stat, but I don't know where it is now. That used to work really well.
For record cleaning, the thing it's been interesting and also troubling over the years through YouTube, I found out there's really no consensus. There's a gentleman, he passed maybe about a year ago, and he was in the vinyl community. A real interesting man, an older guy. And I can't recommend his channel highly enough, only because he talks about records and music, and he's such a big fan, and I'm so positive. But his name was Oddbox Topper, and quite a popular guy in the vinyl community. But he had several different cleaning methods, one of which was sort of using that edger and the isopropyl alcohol. He modified his his thing over there. As a matter of fact, there's one video was so popular, it was popular on unintentional ASMR sites. It had over like 1 million views. So the guy had a very relaxing, pleasant voice. So you can find him on these sites. He's such a nice man. But he had several different cleaning methods. But the one thing and I was going to ask you, and I know Todd's, there's no consensus on cleaning these records. One thing Todd mentioned is the isopropyl alcohol. I know some guys are very aggressive as to what percentage the alcohol should be.
Yes.
So I was told don't use anything higher than 50%. I've seen other people say who cares. So I know that people get
99%.
God, Todd is like hardcore. Jeez.
I had a record.
You're diluting it anyway.
I had a record store guy say, "Don't do it, don't do it." And he said, "Well, you blend that with distilled water, and instead of Dawn, he described it as a surfactant like Jet Dry, and you use that on it too because it helps the thing dry." So,
that would be good too.
Yeah, but I've done one thing, and Todd said he washes his hands. Over the years I've jacked up covers and inner sleeves because of oils on my hands slashed through my hair or whatever. So I've jacked it up. You can see my fingerprints probably from when I'm a kid. So I've
never had that issue.
That's one of the biggest problems for people that have record stores and they get big stacks of used records is people who didn't care about whether or not they left fingerprints on them. And then over the years, they get harder and harder to take off.
Yep. A couple of things. Well, I guess Martin was interested. I store albums now when I can alphabetically. I have such a backlog because you guys said, I buy the vinyl. What do? I clean it. I've got such a backlog. It's there in those stacks.
That's the backlog on the left there, right behind you. That's the backlog.
Yeah, it's a backlog. It's absurd. So, but I like the idea of cleaning them, even if you think if you have the time, even if you think they've been cleaned. But because you can buy some records, you take them out, and you find out it looks like they used it as a cutting board or for a party or something. So
I clean new records too before I play them.
That's not.
I don't trust them.
And do you guys replace all your inner sleeves with rice paper, like everything?
I do not.
I do.
It depends on how nice the original sleeve is. New records these days have been coming with paper sleeves that have the
I still replace them.
It depends on how bad they are.
Because the record is contaminated. When they press it, it still needs cleaned. So I figure that the inner sleeve is soiled. So I always put them in the plastic sleeve. The plastic sleeves that Todd just showed.
Right.
I get those.
The only reason I don't put every record in one of these is because I'm cheap.
Right. What do you do with the original inner sleeve? Do you
put it inside the jacket?
I put it inside the jacket because I'm not anal. Yeah.
It all fits?
Yeah.
Usually.
Right. Yeah.
Did you guys ever use any of those protective sprays from the 70s or 80s, like the Audio Technica and stuff?
Oh my God!
A little sticker, and you put
was that stuff called?
I can't remember. I was trying to think because I remember we used to drive to Spokane.
Groove Glide,
one of the big things you bought in the States.
Groove Lube, Groove Glide.
No, not the one. I remember an Audio Technica one in a tall spray bottle, and you'd spray it, and they gave you those little stickers, and you put the date on it. I still have some of my records, but then we realized it actually ruined the sound. I mean, it actually caused. Because you're adding stuff to the grooves, right?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I didn't use it a lot, but I still pull out the odd album once in a while, and I see that little sticker on it with the date on it. It's pretty.
Wasn't there a product called Groove Glide back in the day?
I think there was Grant, but I don't remember what it was. I mean, the most popular thing from that I remember was disc washer.
Well, I took mine out here. I mean, that's what I use for cleaning.
That.
And you'd get the little red bottles and you drop the drops on it and go around. That's my whole answer to the vinyl cleaning thing, pretty much.
That's basically a fancy version of this.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever used this on a cover?
Yeah.
I've heard this now given as a tip on a white cover to actually literally use an eraser. I haven't done it, but I'm asking if you've done it.
Wow. No, I haven't.
I've used like Windex, and that'll take. Windex will take it off.
Windex will take it'll take mildew off of the outside of a cover.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But, okay. I've seen.
But I would only do that if it was really awful.
But I've not had any issue with Windex.
That's a cool tip about the eraser. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Hey, I've had experience. A friend was at my house we're playing the Zeppelin Zozo album. Very cold weather, really cold. He walks back home, gets back to his house. The record shattered from the cold. Never had that happen before.
Wow, it must have been really cold.
It was really cold.
My goodness.
Really cold. Broken. So that's another weird one I've had.
I've never seen that. I'd like to see that.
I remember trying to break records, and you couldn't even break it, folding it all the way around. It wouldn't break.
Oh, wow.
Some records.
How about, I got one I can't solve. I was at a record store, South Street, Philly, bought a bunch of used records, some of which I had, one of which was the first Stars album, brought it back. Two of the albums, smells like human urine on that cover, really smells like piss. Any ways to get rid of it other than just chucking the cover out? I thought about something to do with baking soda or having it sit in something, but it literally smells. And it applies also to musty albums. Any cures for the smell? And of course, you can keep it in your plastic sleeves, but once you take it out, it's still there.
Yeah, I've not figured out a way to get rid of cigarette smoke. When somebody
I
has
don't
a
have that
collection
much trouble with it though.
Yeah, that I have a Supertramp record that still smells like cigarette smoke.
I just file it and just hopefully it fends for itself.
Speaking of filing, did you ever take a warp on the lip and file down the outside of it? I've got a Budgie album like that.
No, I've never done that.
Me off like it's got a skip at the very first song, and again, right? And I remember, there's obviously some extra, blank space here. If I just file down the outside of it, and maybe it'll minimize it, sort of thing. Like the edge of the cartridge won't bump up against it, right?
No, one tip.
I've never done that.
Skip, if a record has a skip, look at it really closely and see if there's something stuck to it. Because a lot of times that's just a little piece of dust or something that's stuck to it. And if you can scrape it off with your fingernail or something and then clean that spot, sometimes you can fix a skip that way. Sometimes a skip is just a divot in the groove.
Does anybody here have a record cleaning machine?
I do not.
I do.
What do you have?
They just all cost too much. I'm too cheap.
2.0. And I just looked online. They're very expensive at this point.
Yeah.
That's what I use. I use a Nitty Gritty and I'm anal. It's terrible.
How much do they cost now?
Well, it's like $500 or $600 for a record cleaning machine, but
they have a whole bunch of different manufacturers making them now, and they're
well, the Nitty Gritty, the one I've got's manual. I can turn the record myself. I don't need a machine to do it. To get the same, I get the same result. Why spend the money on it? But yeah, that's what I use.
The thing that's doing you the most good with that machine is the suction. The vacuum.
Yeah, it's great. I can be up and ready in 3 minutes, 2 minutes. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
That's why those cost so much.
Yeah, but you can, but I've had it for probably 10 years. So it's been good. Because don't forget, I was buying a crap load. So served me well.
So we're talking about, when you think about this, I'm gonna introduce this and see what y'all think. What about ringwear being part of the provenance of a record?
I don't like ringwear.
Does Deep Purple in rock look right if it doesn't have some ringwear?
I don't know. I'd like to hear Martin's thought on that.
I'm pretty sure mine has some.
I remember King Fowley once had a very eloquent thing where he said, I love my records. As long as I beat them up, I love my records all completely beaten up because it's showing the scars of all the parties it's been through and all that.
Well, let's say this. Let's say you're going through the used bins. If there's a record that you really want, the vinyl is mint, but the album has ringwear or some wear on the cover. Do you buy it or not? I'm sure it depends on the price, but
yeah.
Throwing it out there.
One thing to this, this is actually related to an earlier thing you said, but being a book collector guy and having, spent some time a while ago, reading a lot of books on book collecting and book collecting somewhat and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. The big thing in book collecting is the first edition. And I always say that the version of an album that I'm going to have any emotional attachment to is the one that I can picture like the Spinal Tap scene, the manager coming in with the album and showing it to the band for the first time. So it's the format, whether it was LP or CD, like Pantera's a CD band, not an LP band.
Right.
So I have no attachment to seeing vulgar display of power on vinyl. I don't care, right? But by the same token, Judas Priest albums from the 70s, I have no attachment at all to a CD version of any of those, for example, right?
Really?
So it's almost like the version that God intended, the first edition is the most important to me. That's parlance that they don't talk about in record collecting, first edition, right?
Or the one you had.
The one you had, of course.
I want the one I had.
But still, I even now, like I have my Canadian copies of Black Sabbath albums, right? But to me, I can even pick up like an original UK version, and that is more important to me, because
Right.
because
it's
that is
probably,
like it's from the country that they're from, right?
and
So
it's
it's more
probably
likely to be
pressed from the master
first edition.
tapes, because they would
all
send
that too, yeah.
copies. They would send copies to Canada
Yeah.
and the US. If you get a UK copy,
Yeah.
you know you're getting probably the best if you're an audiophile.
But to me, the litmus test is like, what was the first one the band saw themselves, and that's the first edition.
UK,
that means the most to me. So
yeah,
and that's why even bands now, it's a little bit weird to say this, but even seeing a CD of a new album in 2023 seems like a goofy thing to me. Like, you're a streaming era band. That is the first edition. Like that is literally the most valid edition. The CD is a toy, right? So to me, all of those vinyl reissues that I see clogging up the used record stores are toys. They're like mementos.
They are.
Later.
I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
It doesn't keep me from buying them, but yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah, but I'm not buying them
Keeps me
anymore.
from
I
buying
was
them.
on that bandwagon where I'd buy them, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not paying the money.
I have one example of something that kind of goes along those lines. I, for the longest time, was trying to find a good copy of Deep Purple Machine Head. Now, I can remember tripping over those at record stores, going to a record store and having them have like 7 or 8 copies of it. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find one. So I broke down and I bought the new one. I bought a new 180-gram copy of Deep Purple's Machine Head. And you know what? It's the best sounding copy I've ever heard.
Oh, wow. All right.
Well, you have to think about it. Well, yeah, I don't, I'm sure it probably is.
It's case by case.
But it bothers me that, really the entire thing, the vinyl through all the cardboard, is repro. It's a reproduction of the original, right?
And a lot of that Martin, a lot of that and the reproduction doesn't look as good because they don't have the original artwork anymore, and they go back and copy like a record.
Yeah.
It looks like a repo.
But even if it's good, it's not the original, right? And the point is, the original isn't like a one. I mean, there were millions of them, right? So I don't care how worn it is, but I want that original inner sleeve, right?
I get it. I totally get it.
But some it depends on how they're doing the reproductions. Like, for example, when they remastered all the Cars albums, they put the labels on the records are the period correct Elektra labels. I have a Doors box set that's like that.
I don't care. I hate. I almost wish they would.
How it was when it
they
came
would
out.
Because it's like they're just trying to fool you and make it even more. I want to hold a copy before there was fax machines, before there was the internet, before 9/11 happened, right? I want to hold a copy that hadn't seen any of that stuff, and an innocent copy from 1979, right?
But those Cars albums, they pressed a bazillion of them. Why do you feel you would need a new one? You can go through the used bins and find a mint copy.
Oh, I didn't say I needed it.
Oh, okay. You're using it as an example.
I used it as an example, yes.
I'm sorry, but a lot of this, like, okay, let me say this. Like, all right, if anybody's been through the used bins, there's like the Linda Ronstadt albums are reproducing. It's like I don't know what's going on, but these records reproduce. You can
Jackson
find
Brown, yeah.
tons of Jackson Brown, tons of Linda Ronstadt. Audio Fidelity was it Audio Fidelity or Mobile Fidelity? Whatever, doesn't matter. One of these audiophile companies decided, hey, we're going to put out Linda Ronstadt. Now, the original Linda Ronstadt albums were mastered by Bernie Grunman, who is brilliant. Why they feel the need to reproduce this when you can't beat Bernie's work? Bernie is an audiophile master. People look to his work and think you can't improve upon it. But some of these companies thought, well, let's redo it. And you might as well just go buy a $1 record in the bin. It's Bernie Grunman mastered. It's a lot of bullshit. That's what it is.
But it's not 100%. The new ones are not all worse. It's case by case.
But you can look at the inner groove and see if it's Bernie mastered it.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people that prefer specific masterings, but you can't make a blanket statement that all of the new ones are bad.
I'm not, but I don't see why you would have to read, I don't know, maybe someone wants to make money, but why would we
Well-
need, I understand it's money, but why do we need more Linda Ronstadt out there? And there's
That's
plenty of them. There's plenty.
That's a bigger issue. And I just watched a video about this today. There's this guy who has this YouTube channel called Too Many Records, and he makes lots of videos about the state of the vinyl industry.
Right.
And he was saying that there are some vinyl only distributors and places you can buy records online that are starting to drop off. They're starting to lose personnel, and you're starting to feel like it's a different experience. And they're getting bought by other companies and stuff like that. And that's because the record labels are pissed off and they want it back. Warner Records, this new thing that they've made, which is basically Warner Brothers, it's now called Warner Records. They want to take it back.
Yeah.
They want you to buy B-52's Whammy new. They don't want you to buy one. So they want it back. And that part of it makes me want to quit buying records, because they want to take it from the people who who started buying records again and built it up into this new thing that everybody should be buying records instead of CDs. And now the record company is like, oh, well, this is great. I'm glad y'all did that for us, but this is our territory.
Hey, where do you guys file compilations?
Well,
At the end, after Z.
in my CD collection, they're at the end. In my vinyl collection, actually, there's not that many comps. All my comps are on CD.
Two questions. One, I file alphabetically according to last name, especially solo artists. Discogs does first name, which I find maddening.
That
It's
drives me
idiotic.
nuts.
It's idiotic.
It's idiotic.
Although in my
I'm trying to
electronic
do
files on my
library.
computer, I'm first name because I don't want to see the comma. I don't want it to be Buckingham
So
Dash.
Todd, in your
I'm a lazy-
electronic, what are you using electronically?
What do you mean?
Well, you said your electronic files. Are you doing iTunes? Are you doing?
I have done so many things.
Oh.
Right now, I switched to Mac, and this time it's stuck. And so I'm using the music app in the Mac.
The music app, which is basically iTunes. Okay, yeah.
And I ripped a 256K AAC. I don't
Oh, I do.
rip
I do.
lossless.
I do lossless. Everything's
I-
lossless.
My 59-year-old ears can't hear the difference.
Damn it,
Mm.
Todd! You're not supposed to say how old you are.
I want to
wow.
mention one more quick story before we wrap up, because I know you got to leave. But I remember in the 90s,
Yeah.
Tim Henderson and I at the magazine were getting so many free CDs that we panicked at one point, said we got to start throwing out jewel cases, right? So we sourced different sizes of little CD sleeves, and the main one is that, here we go with Genesis again, but the main one is this one,
Yeah.
which allowed us, you take the 3 parts, right? And you just take the booklet, you put the CD like that, you fold over the one end of the end thing, but you leave the other one free, and then you put the whole thing together and put it in these. And we bought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these to throw out jewel cases. So that's how
Oh my God.
I store most of my CDs now.
Uh-huh.
Like that. And then for
Wow.
digipacks, you would buy a slightly larger size. Here's a Geezer album, right? And these just all fit in here. So and then we even sourced little tiny ones because we're getting all those cardboard little card sleeve promos, right?
Yeah.
Nuclear Blast and Century Media and stuff. We got ones where those fit perfectly in as well. So now my CD wall, which is it's a 7-foot tall wall of
Gigantic.
racks, 31 feet long,
I hate Martin. I
has
hate him.
many jewel cases thrown out, right?
Yeah.
Well, what does everybody else use since we're talking about it? Todd, do you keep the jewel cases?
I keep the
Nick?
jewel cases, but I have done it all. In the late 90s,
Todd is a
I got
mess.
rid of all the jewel cases. I've used books, I've used sleeves, I've bought empty jewel cases and put them back in the jewel cases.
Wow.
And so I have done it all.
See, I've always kept them in the jewel cases. I've never.
Right now they're in their original cases.
Yeah. Nick, what about
Yeah.
you?
Jewel case. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to change it.
Hey, changing before you have to sign off. What about keeping the plastic on the album, especially with the hype sticker? You guys do that? You find it?
I keep it on there. If it's new, I keep it on.
I cut it out and slide it in, and you got to keep it on the
Nah.
cellophane in CD or the LP.
Right.
You definitely got to keep
Okay.
the hype sticker.
If it's CD, I keep the hype sticker and I just attach it to something on the CD inside or something.
Mhm.
But on the record, I keep.
Oh.
Is that original or is that a boot?
That's of course it's original, unsealed.
Wow.
How did you get that? But you know that's
I
worth a
told you
couple
I
of
had
bucks.
this. 1968. I told you I had this.
No,
I told-
Nick, you know
I
you
did.
tell me stuff and I don't listen.
Nice.
That's worth a couple of bucks because most of those are
Yeah, I
bootleg.
know it is. I know it is. No, it's not. It's original. It's
My
original.
God, look at him flaunting that. Wow.
No, it's not. I
Dope.
know. I did it for you. I did it for you. I'm just curious
Yeah,
about the
you-
stickers.
I hate
Well,
you.
I like it on there too because it tells you it's $1.99 special value. I know the store. Besides the hype sticker, I kind of like that stuff on there too.
I
For
don't
me,
like you, Nick, at all. I don't like you.
For
at
me,
all.
it depends. If it's something really clean, like we're going to talk about this on the next show. This is not a record that I like, by the way, but this one is like super clean. It looks like somebody just ripped it open. So I will keep
Right.
that one the way it is. If
Right.
if the plastic was all torn up, I would cut around the
Right.
hype sticker and put it inside.
Okay.
But I wanted to say this one thing. For a long time, people were saying that if you leave the shrink on it, it will pull on it.
That's
and
what Rand says. Rand's
doesn't
full of
do that.
crap.
it doesn't
No.
do that.
It doesn't.
Rand's
No.
nuts.
You can be free to ignore that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've heard that.
It's just-
Thanks for bringing that up, Todd, because I've heard
My
that.
opinion.
I've got a sealed copy of the Who sellout, still sealed, and it's fine. On Decca,
right.
it's fine. I've never
If it's-
opened it because
If
there's
it's
no reason to
pristine,
open
I
it.
leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still sealed.
Right.
Hey, one more funny thing. I got in the habit early on with my vinyl as a kid, and I had two sections, non-metal and metal. So all the metal went A to Z, A to Z in one section.
my
and
God.
everything that was non-metal went in the other spot. So and my vinyl is still like that.